美国名嘴咆哮美国民众。
片段一。
Do you think the Russians don't know that for the first time since John Glenn was sent up to orbit this planet, America cannot put a person into space without asking the Russians to do it? That we're not investing in the young generation of Americans? That we're willing to lose the race for artificial intelligence to the Chinese when China is rising? That China's GDP has quadrupled since 2001, tripled since 2003, doubled since 2009. Do we think that no one in the rest of the world knows all of that about us? For 10 years. For 10 years, Madam President. And now we're here with the government shutdown over his...
片段二。
Called The Rise of China. And I give a short version of a quiz that I give to my students at Harvard. And the question for the heading is called, When Could China Become Number One? And students guess 2030, 2040, and then I show them a second chart which says already. China is already number one. So not only rivaled...
片段三。
De China.
1000 millones, algo así. Pero... Y pico, son pa...
1.300.000 y pico. Sí.
Es un montón. Acá somos 44 millones. O sea, somos nada.
片段四。
来中国到现在，见到的中国人都是非常好，包括我的中国家人。
家人当然好。
而且我刚来的时候说中文，完全不会，完全垃圾。那时我也自己一个人去吃饭，或者我自己一个人去哪儿的时候，都是他非常努力，让我听懂。
说得很慢。
哦，还有中国发展的非常快，所有的支付的时候都是用扫码。
片段五。
Well, let me tell you. 7. How many do you think are in the United States? None. How many do you think are in Europe? None. It's remarkable what is happening here. Now, is it remarkable in some senses? Yes, of course it is, but we go back to this point, that China has been a dominant economic power through human...
片段六。
Aux USA, t'achètes une boisson, tu peux la remplir autant de fois que tu veux.
要是铁蛋在美国生活1年，他可能会多40斤。会比算，你想一下，铁蛋多40斤，
一个大的铁蛋。我们不停地在说啊，多好吃。
但是如果我要真心的说实话，不好吃就是不好吃。我不是说你不能吃，要是你在医院的话，你会觉得这个是美味非常好的一个餐。但是呢，真的不是中餐。你说这个是什么什么什么？
片段七。
Far more humanistic than the United States ever was.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. So.
Let me give you an example. Of course, they are peddling for influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they are non-interventionist. Absolutely non-interventionist in a way that Europeans, the West, has never managed to fathom. The Chinese never asked Apple to go to Shenzhen and produce all the iPhones. It was Steve Jobs that decided that. Yeah? Mm-hmm. It was not China that went to Washington, D.C. and demanded that they buy a third of your national debt. If they hadn't bought it, you would be in serious trouble. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the influence of China outside its borders, it's quite remarkable that they don't seem to have any military ambitions. Instead of going into Africa with troops, colonially, destroying the country, killing people like the West has done.
片段八。
Still a queue of people trying to get on them. There's no empty seats on the trains, such as a demand. There's twice as much high-speed rail track in China already than there is across the whole of Europe. That's quite amazing. The investment in infrastructure, we've heard about Belt One Road. is in ports and it's in roadways.
片段9
And then we scanned our passport to get through the gate, and it was so easy. Not anymore. But I just got China. Everything changes very quickly here. And here's the bullet train.
Bullet trains are excellent to use if you're trying to save time. What would normally take an hour-and-a-half drive to get to Shanghai only takes 23 minutes by bullet train.
So we have a standing ticket, which means we literally...
片段10
Deckende gemeinsame Religion. Die Inkas, die Mayas, die Ägypter, die alten Griechen, die Römer, alle hatten sie ihre Götter. Später einen Gott. Der Islam hat einen Gott. Wir haben die heilige Dreieinigkeit. Die Chinesen haben dergleichen nicht. Das ist ein ganz grundsätzlicher Unterschied zu allen anderen Hochkulturen der Welt. Vielleicht hat das etwas zu tun mit der Frage, mit der Erklärung der Dauerhaftigkeit dieser Kultur.
Also eine säkuläre Kultur im Grunde.
Nicht ganz säkular, immerhin ist schon bei Konfuzius vom Himmel die Rede. Aber das bleibt sehr unbestimmt und nicht personifiziert. Nicht ganz ohne religiöse Vorstellung.
片段11
It will solve most of its problems. Then, for example, if you take the present percentage of the population in the world which lives in high-income economies, by World Bank definition, is 16%. Right. China is 19% of the world's population. China should be able to become a high-income economy in about 12 years' time. This will more than double the percentage of the population of the world living in high-income economies. Now, I understand the Chinese people understand that this is a big step forward for China, which it is, obviously. Right. But it's also a big step forward for the human race. Right. I understand that that's not why people, I'm interested in it. That
片段12
84,000 miles of them. That's more than any other country in the world. And they're only just getting into their stride. Since 2011, they've been building 6,000 miles of motorway every year. 6,000 miles a year! It beggars belief, and it's not like the terrain is easy. Here, though, there ain't no mountain high enough, and there ain't no valley low enough to stop them. This bridge, for example, is 34 miles long. And then there's this one, the Douge-Beipanjiang Bridge.
片段13
Big. Big. Very big.
It's huge. That's the impression.
It's a really huge country with a lot of people, I guess.
It's just so different from Europe, so I would like to see how people live. I imagine it's to be a lot different from Europe.
Many million people. I will have problem to recognize them. Who is who?
Friendly people, was nice, very good food actually. The Chinese restaurants in Sweden are not anything compared to the real ones, of course, in China.
Everybody seems kind, calm and a nice place,
The culture, the food, language.
It seems very nice. The food, the people.
片段14
There to be a confrontation. China is going to be a rich and a powerful country. And we have no problem with that. We can't have any problem with that. But there has to be a balance. It cannot be a China that is rich and powerful and an America that is weak and not prosperous. Because those imbalances are what create wars. Those imbalances are what create misery. Those imbalances are what destabilize the planet. That can't be. We need to recalibrate this relationship. It needs to be rebalanced on the trade side. It needs to be protective on our national security side. It needs to be equalized. And if it is, China can still be very successful. They're going to invent things. They're going to create jobs. They're going to become more prosperous. And that is fine. We've been doing that for 100 years. Every person in this gallery, sitting in the gallery, every person here in the well, of the Senate on the floor. Everyone you know has products on them, a phone, a belt, made in another country. The issue is not that other countries make things and we don't. It's not about us dominating everything. It's about balance. And this is not balanced. This is headed to...
片段15。
就是我认为，我不确定，但是我觉得除了中国，只有韩国开始了一些，他们有 Kakao Pay， 还有支付宝，好像支付宝在韩国也能用，但是欧美国家还是到现在只用现金或者刷卡，能用手机支付方式超级方便。我这一次来中国都快1年了，然后一直没有回国。我好像有至少半年没有见过现金，我都是用手机支付的。这是第一，就是要是回国我会想的东西。第二个，来了中国觉得非常方便的一个事情。
片段16。
Look around me here. This is just a small apartment complex that's being built over the last 18 months. You got it. Projects like this are a common occurrence here in mainland China. China has been building and building and building. This is just a small complex, apartment complex in the city of Nanning. 5 years ago, this place did not exist. This was farmland, people. So when you think that China is just a network of villages...
片段17。
炖土豆还是土豆炖牛肉？不知道。
人刚说完小鸡炖。
哎，这个叫什么名字？这道菜？
土豆拌茄子。
土豆拌茄子。茄子。
Oh, the chicken. It's done. It's almost done. I mean, you can tell. I think it's obvious. This one was good. This one was good.
Camera Gambit.
相信大家都比较喜欢吃的美菜。
东北菜好吃吗？
好吃，我喜欢它的米粉。
还喜欢什么？
对。
说中了。
说了。好的。
片段18。
Trying to convey here, I hope with some success, is that China ain't like us. I don't mean there's nothing in common, I don't mean we're not part of humanity, but its historical development is so different. And you've got to remember, you know, that we're very recent compared with China. I mean, China is the longest continuously existing polity in the world. Going back, well, arguably, it's one of the first, you know, one of the first settled with the fertile crescent, first settled agriculture in the world. So China has a very, very long history, and maybe instead of people being surprised about China's rise now, this is the wrong way of looking at it. What we should be surprised about, maybe, is not the period since 1978, but what the hell went wrong between 1800 and 1949. Because for most of the rest of the thousands of years of Chinese history, it was arguably one of, and often the most advanced country in the world. So you could say this is a return to what China...
片段19。
那个蓝色的衣服啊，大家都是骑自行车。我还以为我到了中国住过年。
50、60年代的那个。
50、60也有70年。
对中国的印象，对，真的是这10年发生了很大的改变。因为当时我来中国，当时我告诉我爸，我在大学的时候学中文，我爸非常反对。他说中国是发展中国家，他说你学就是对不起哈大家哈，他说中国是发展中国家，你学这个语言没有用处。然后我记得当时我告诉了我美国那边的朋友要去中国，他们说小心，很危险。
大家哎，老姜，好几年没看到你，我说对，然后你在哪生活？我在中国生活。
中国在哪里？
中国是吗？啊好，再喝一杯，就这样的，知道吗？
对对对。
但是
片段20。
Varied and a history so rich and complex that no visitor can fully grasp it. Still, at these games, no advanced degree in international relations was required to appreciate the genuine warmth of the Chinese people, the honest pride in their country, and how seriously Chinese citizens famous Olympians to everyday men and women took this chance to show themselves to the world. All Olympics are important to the host city. These games were monumentally important to the host nation, which happens to be home to 1/5 of humanity. All that said, just as these Olympics
片段21。
俄罗斯有机会的话，传播到全世界。从今天开始，我的家是你们的家。
西方国家说不跟俄罗斯交易，不给俄罗斯卖东西，对我们来说影响大不大？我这样跟你们说，欧洲是个小店铺，卖不卖无所谓。我们有中国全球最大的超市。
片段22。
的品质不仅仅是品质，也是中国人让我有什么样的感觉。OK， 那我们跟这些品质开始，我觉得一般来说中国人都很好奇，他们会问很多问题。我真的很感谢这个行为，因为如果你很好奇，你可以让别人感觉很舒服，所以我很想学到这个品质，在商业上可能是一个很重要的品质，是一个很好的方式让你们的关系变得更好。其实中国人也都很友好，但是这就要看，因为有的中国人看一个外国人然后忽视他们，因为他们可能不会英语或者别的原因，但是我自己经历过很友好的互动，他们会问你跟他们喝茶，或者问你很多问题，这是一个很舒服的感觉，你知道吗？在加拿大我也有一些中国朋友，然后他们跟我在一起上